Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to this data cleaning training. My next video will create a dashboard using the cleaned data set. Right? Now, before you start cleaning any data, you need to understand the data. Okay? You need to ask yourself three important questions. What is the data all about? What do I want to achieve from this data set? And why should I clean the data? You need to understand this, else you'll just be clicking around knowing why you are cleaning the data sets. Okay, now what we have here, let's answer those questions. What is the data all about? This data is all about passengers on the Titanic, and it includes information about their names, gender, the tickets they used to board the Titanic and board the Titanic and where they boarded from, those that survived and those that did not survive, right? Now, you want to also ask yourself, what am I going to achieve from these data sets? Because these questions are important. With the answers to these questions, you will know what you are going to delete and what you should not delete. Okay? What do we want to achieve from this data set? We want to analyze this data set dashboard. That the reason is simple. Raw data are not usually ready analysis. They are not usually analysis ready, rather, right? Raw data contains missing values, inconsistent text, and also they are not structured. So we need to clean these data sets to get it analysis ready. Okay. Now, looking at these data sets, we don't need so many columns in this data set, and we are going to delete them. And I'm going to give you the reasons why we are going to delete them. One, we don't need the passenger's ID, but we're going to keep this passenger's ID because we want to use it to check for our duplicates. When checking for your duplicates, you need a unique identifier. Now, why this passenger's ID is a unique identifier? It is because a passenger cannot be given two ID. One passenger cannot be given two ID. So you either get each passengers are entitled to one ID. Do you understand? You cannot use the name for unique identifier, because if you use their names for unique identifier, it's possible that two passengers can be bearing the same name. It is very possible. For example, if we have John Michael, another passenger can be bearing John Michael. In fact, 3 to 4 passengers can be bearing John Michael. So you cannot use the name to check for duplicates because you are not going to get an accurate result, right? So the passenger's ID is a unique identifier, which we are going to use to check if we have duplicates in this data set or not. Now, another thing we are going to delete is tickets. We don't need their tickets for anything. We don't need the ticket. The ticket is not going to give us any useful information in our analysis. So we don't need the tickets, and we don't need the cabin. The cabin contains so many missing values and it's not going to add anything reasonable to our analysis. Hope you understand. It's not going to add anything. We don't need the cabin because it's not going to add anything useful to our analysis. So we're going to take out the cabin and we're going to take out the tickets, right? Now, before we do that, hope I'm not too fast. Now, before we do that, let us check if we have missing value. In order to do that, we are going to go to, we're on home tab, right? Please ensure that you are doing exactly what I'm doing. So we're already on the home tab. In case you're not on the home tab, click on the home tab, which is this, then go to conditional formatting. click on conditional formatting, go to highlight cells rules, then scroll down, check for duplicate values. So it's saying format cells that contains duplicates, right? And you should format them with a red light fill, with a light red fill color, which is okay by me. So let us check. So I'm going to scroll down to see if any was formatted, none was formatted. So it seems we don't have a duplicate, but still we're going to check using another method, right? Now let's go to data. If you click on your data tab, you're going to check, click on remove duplicates, right? Then this is going to pop up, expand the selection or continue with the current selection. I'm going to click on continue with the current selection. Then I'm going to click on remove duplicates. The columns that I want to use to remove duplicates is written here. It is ticked here because remember I use the current selection. Now it's showing passenger's ID is ticked already. I'm going to click on OK. No duplicate value found. So we are good. We don't have duplicates. All right. Now let us delete those columns I said we don't need for our analysis. So the ticket is going and the cabin is going. Okay. Now this is all we need for our analysis. Let us start cleaning. Okay. Since I've checked for duplicates, I think it's high time I delete the passenger's ID because we don't really need it for our analysis. We don't need the passenger's ID for our analysis. So I'm going to take this out. Okay. Then let's start with the name, right? As you can see, the name is, let me expand this. To expand it, all you just need to do is come over to this place. When your cursor changes to this plus sign shape, then left click on your mouse and drag to expand. So as you can see, the name, right? The name is mixed. The name is not properly structured, and this is a really big concern because looking at the name like this, it is scattered, and we need the name to be properly structured for our analysis. Okay. Yeah. If you check closely, you see that their titles are in the middle of their name, like it's the second name after the first name, right? It's scattered, and if you look closely, you will see some have semicolon attached to their names, and it's not nice. We need to take this out. We need to treat this. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this column D, then right click and insert. I'm going to insert a new column now. I want to split these names. I would have used split by delimiter, but then split by delimiter is going to split the names into different columns, which I do not want. Because most of these names here have up to 5 names. Most of them here have up to 5 names. And using split by delimiter is going to split those names into 5 columns, which we don't want for our analysis. We don't want something that will make our table look distracting, right? Now, to get the titles out, I'm going to use autofill. Okay, how this is going to work is I'm going to start by typing Mr. first, then on the second column I'm going to type Mrs. Then I'm going to, on the third column, I'm going to click on Ctrl plus E, so it's going to auto fill it. Do you understand? Now let's type on Mr. Let's click Mr. for this first one. For this, I'm going to say Mrs. Let me just type Miss for this third one. Did you see this? So we just filled in, we've separated the title from their names now, right? So the next thing now we're going to do is to, let me give it a heading called title. Okay, so this is their title. So I'm going to reduce this a little bit, right? Now I'm going to add another column to separate their first name from the names. Okay, so I want to bring out their first name here from the names. Now I'm going to add another column. Then let me title this first name, because this is what we want to achieve now, right? First name. So here I'm going to start by imputing the first name there, which is brand. Okay, then I'm going to write the second name. Just click on it, has auto-filled it already. Do you see? So Excel automatically auto-filled it. So I'm just going to press enter. So this first name has been filled. Then I'm going to now insert another column. Please, are you guys following? For those of you that have the data sets, please ensure that you are doing exactly what I'm doing. And any question you have, feel free to ask those questions in the comment chat. And I'm going to answer each and every question if time permits. But if I can't answer them on the live here, I will definitely give you an answer to those questions in the group chat. Okay, so feel free to let me know those questions that are bothering you, that you would like to ask. Okay, now I'm going to fill in the last name now. So I want to take the third name, right, as their last name. So I'm going to write a last name, or surname rather. Surname. Okay. Then I'm going to write Owen is the last name here. Right. I'm using Owen. Then for this one, I'm going to use John. See, let's did you see what just happened now? Excel wants to autofill it, but this time around it wants to autofill it in a pattern that is not going to suit us, right? Because it's bringing both the last name and the other names, which I don't want. I don't want to include other names that are attached to their names, right? So I'm just going to ignore this particular one and just keep typing until I get the exact pattern that I want. Okay, so I'm going to use John here. Okay, then here I'm going to write, so I think this is good now. It has given me the pattern that I want, right? Just the last name. So I'm going to click enter for this. So this works, right? This works. This works. Yep, this works. Now I'm going to create another column, right, for others. You know, some people have middle names, some people have nicknames, some people have different names apart from their first and last name. Okay, so I'm going to title this part others. Now these others will comprise of all the names, every other names that are not their first or their last name. Do you understand? So I'm going to click on insert. Then I'm going to title this other names, right? Or others. Other names is fine. Okay. Now to achieve this, I'm not going to use autofill. I'm going to use a formula, right? And that formula, we're going to use the if function. Now, what I want this formula to do is to check for the first, to check on column C, right? It should check for the first, the second, and the third word in the name column, right? Then remove it and bring out everything that is not included in the first, second, and third word. Do you understand? So basically, what this if function is going to do is to take out the three first word, then return every other word after the three first word. That is what I am going to tell it to do, right? Now, and also, if a name has just three words in the name column, it should return an empty space instead of bringing error. You understand? So now we're going to come to this formula bar. I'm going to click here on this formula bar to type in the formula, right? So I'm going to say equal to, right, if, okay, error, in brackets, trim, in brackets, mid, right, in brackets, C2, okay, C2 in brackets, find, right, in brackets, empty space, C2. Are you following? Ensure you are following and just pay attention to the formula, okay, comma, find, in brackets, another space, comma, C2, in brackets, find, another space, right, comma, column C2, right, then close the bracket, plus 1, okay, then close the bracket, plus 1, close the bracket, right? We're going to add, what this plus 1 is saying is that if you find a word, if it finds a word and if it finds a word, it should move a step further, find a space, move a step further, find another word, move a step further, right? Then it's going to move a step further 3 times, because mind you, we want to take out the first, the title, the first and the last name, then bring out every other name. So it's going to look for a space, move a step further, check for that word after the space, move a step further again for another space, then check for the word, move a step further for another space, check for the word, then take it out and return every other thing. Do you understand? The trim function in this formula is saying that it should trim, it should take out the spaces. After checking for those spaces, it should not return it with the space. It should not return the final output with those spaces, right? It should take out those spaces and return the final output without those spaces. Do you understand? Don't worry, with time you understand. So close the bracket, plus 1, then we have comma, 50, close the bracket. Now this 50 is saying after it has checked for those spaces one step forward, right, and taking out those words, whatever that is left, this 50 just telling it the space that is there, the length of text that is remaining. You can even replace this 50 with 100 if you wish to. Just as I said earlier, some names are very, very big, right? Some names are very, 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 they are plenty, they are up to 6, right? What this 50 is saying is no matter the length of the name, right, just return it. You can use 100, you can use 200 in place of this 50. We're saying equal to if error, trim, mid, look for any empty space in between, right? In column C2, then find those spaces, find the words after those spaces by moving a step further, okay? Then return the length of the remaining words that are not part of those 3 words. Return the remaining. If the names are up to 3, do not return error. Return an empty space. That is what this formula is saying. Okay. So I'm going to click on enter again. Can you see Harris? Right? Now, I'm going to click here to autofill. Now, in order to autofill, just hover your mouse by the edge. When your cursor changes to this plus sign, then double click on it. It's going to autofill. So I'm going to do just that. And this is it. This is it. So let me know if you understand, and let me know if you've gotten to this part. If you've gotten to this part, right? Let me know. So we have our first name, we have our title, we have our surname, and we have other names, right? Now the next thing we are going to do is to fill these empty spaces with NA, not applicable, because they don't have other names. And we cannot leave, remember, we are not permitted to leave any cell empty. You're not permitted to have empty cell in your data. So we're going to fill these empty spaces with NA. But before we do that, we need to delete this column. Why are we deleting it? You are not just going to delete it. You're going to copy and paste it as a text, as a value rather, so that the formula is not going to be attached to it. Because now if you click on this empty space, as you can see, it has a formula. Look at this formula bar. It has a formula. If you click on the name, it has a formula. And we don't need this formula. We don't need it. We don't need our data set to have this formula as we move on, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to click on here, insert, right? We're going to copy this whole column, Control C. Then we're going to come here, right click, and paste as value. Now, when you paste it as a value, the formulas is not going to be included. With this, you cannot delete the formula column. Do you understand? So I'm going to paste it as a value. Now, as you can see the difference, I've clicked on this and it's showing the name instead of the formula. But here, when you click on this one, it's going to show the formula instead of the name. Do you understand? Now I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to delete this original name because now we don't need it, right? So I'm going to delete this. Okay, now so we have our first name, we have our title. Now we have our title, we have first name, we have surname, and we have other names. But the job is not done yet. We need to fill these empty spaces with NA, right? Because most of them don't have other names. They just have first and last name. So we need to fill the empty spaces we have here with NA. Then we need to also take out this quotation mark. Most of their names have quotation mark. We need to take out this quotation mark. So in order to achieve that, we first need to take out this extra space, okay? Because if we don't, we will not be able to fill in the NA. Okay, now let's, to achieve that, we'll first of all click on Ctrl plus H, Ctrl plus H, right? Then replace with nothing. So let us replace, we've replaced all the extra spaces now. They've been taken out, right? Okay. So now replace the empty spaces with NA, not applicable. We are going to click on Ctrl plus G. Okay. Go to special here. Click on blanks, right? Click on blanks. Then click on OK. As you can see, all the blanks have been highlighted with a light black color. They've all been highlighted. What you just have to do now is type in your N/A, then pay attention to this. After typing in your N/A, don't just click on enter. You're going to click on Ctrl plus enter. All the blanks have been replaced with NA, right? Now, let us take out our quotation mark. This quotation mark that is in most of the names, right? So I'm going to do Ctrl plus F. Okay, find what? Quotation mark, right? Replace with nothing. So I'm going to do replace all. That's all be replaced. Imagine 106 names have quotation mark. So I'm going to click on OK, then I'm going to close this. Now we are done with other names. We are done with the names. Now we have a proper name structure for the title, first name, surname, and other names. So this is okay. The next thing now that we are going to work on, the next thing we are going to clean is the age. The age, as you can see, some of them have missing value. Moran here, Mr. Moran does not have an age here, and Mr. Williams does not have an age, and Mr. Fenny does not have an age, and we need to replace this, right? So it's advisable to use average, the average function, to fill in missing age. Because why average? Average is going to give you a reasonable estimate of the missing age, and it's represents the central value of all the overall age distribution. Okay, so average is going to give us is going to work for this data set, and it's going to give us a good estimate, right? And it's advisable to use average. Okay, and also, if you notice, most of the missing names, most of the missing cells in this age column are not much, right? So it's even going to be okay to use the average function to fill in those missing values. Now, in order to do that, we're just going to come outside in an empty cell outside the cell table. Then we're going to type in equal to average, okay, in brackets, what column is our age? H, right? In brackets, H, okay, then enter. So this has given us the average value. The average value for the age is 29.69912. So now we're going to add a column here, right? What we're going to tell Excel now is we're going to use the if function, by the way. We're going to say if H2 contains any missing any missing value, replace it with average, with this average, okay? But if there are no missing values, still maintain the original value or the original age, right? So now we're going to come here and we are going to say equal to if open bracket, if h2, right, is equal to, you're going to put a quotation mark, okay, meaning missing, if there's a missing value in h2, right, comma, okay, we're going to say then we come here and click your average and it will automatically reflect in your formula. That is P7, right, comma, H2. Close your bracket. Now, before we press enter, we're going to lock this average formula. We're going to lock it. In order to lock it, you're going to highlight P7, then press F4 on your keyboard. This has automatically locked it. As you can see on the formula bar here, we have a dollar sign before the P and a dollar sign before the 7. What this means is that lock everything. It's saying lock everything. As the formula goes, right, it should use the average on all the missing value. Okay, this is very important. But if you don't lock it, it's just only going to return the average on the first missing value. It's not going to give you a proper result. So it's very important you lock it. It's very important you lock it so that it is going to repeat the same average on every missing cell without changing anything, without changing the original age value. Do you understand? So now we're going to click on enter. Okay, as you can see, it's brought what 22 because this does not have a missing value, so it's returned back 22. Now we're going to do autofill. We're going to double click here. Okay, so something is wrong, so let us check. It did not return the average here, so let us know why it did not return the average. Okay, let me see. Okay, my quotation mark, there is a space in between, so it's not supposed to have a space in between. That is why it did not work. So I'm going to correct it. Just take out the space in between the quotation mark. Okay, so now this is going to work. So now let us autofill this. As you can see, this is an empty cell, a missing value for the age column. It has returned the average age there. Also here we have missing value. It has returned the average age, right? And here too, it has missing value. It has returned the average age. So please ensure that your formula does not have a space in between the quotation mark. That is why it returned 0 initially instead of the average. Thank you. Now we're going to take out the formula just the way we did when we that's just the way we did for the name. We're going to also delete this, but before then we're going to add a cell, a column, right? Then copy this and paste it as a text, as a value, paste as value rather. So we just pasted it now. Now we don't have the formula here, right? So we're going to delete this and we're going to delete this. We're going to just delete this. Okay, now we're going to name this to be age. Then we're going to take out this age here, right? Okay, now, so we have treated missing value, okay, for the age column. Now, yesterday I sent a summary of what this data and their abbreviation mean to the group chat, right? For this column, what this CSP means here is sibling slash spouse. So now we're going to correct this to sibling slash spouse. Okay. So this column simply shows us how many people boarded the Titanic. Did they come with their spouse or did they come with their sibling, right? For example, this first person here just came with her spouse, okay, with his spouse, rather, right? So it just shows us how many people did they come with their sibling or did they come with their spouse, right? That is what this column is all about. How many siblings and how many spouse um did they come with, right? Why this one here means, this part here means parents slash children, right? This column just giving us information of how many people came with their children and how many people came with their parents, how many parents and children they came with. Do you understand? So we need to correct this to parents slash children. Okay, then for this fare, this is what they paid, right? This is what they paid in order to board the ship. This is what they paid in order to board the ship. So I'm going to leave it at fare, yeah. Then for this embark, well, this embark, as you can see, it comprises abbreviation. We have the S, C, and we have the Q. This S here stands for, it stands for Southampton, right? While the C here stands for Cherbourg, and the Q here stands for Queenstown. So we're going to also correct all this. We're going to give them their full names instead of abbreviation, right? Then for this survived here, this survived is telling us how many people, the people that died and people that survived, right? And the zero here stands for dead, while the one here stands for alive. We're also going to fix this. We're going to correct this. Okay. So we're going to correct this. Then for here, the sex here, which is the gender, right? It has inconsistent formatting. It started with small letter, which is not supposed to be. So I'm going to add I'm going to insert a column here to correct that. We're going to use the proper function to correct this. So I'm going to go ahead to say equal to, don't say your formula with an equal to sign, with an equal to, right? Equal to proper, right? Trim, open brackets, G2, close brackets. Okay, then we are going to click on enter, and this has been fixed. Then we're going to autofill it. So this has been fixed. Now, as usual, let us take out the formula. We're going to copy and paste as value. Then we're going to delete this. Then we're going to rename this to be sex, the small letter. Then delete this, right? Okay, then next now is this. So now let us replace the zeros here to represent dead, right? Then the one here to represent alive. So I'm going to do Control plus H. Okay. We are going to find what? We are finding 0. And we're replacing it with what? Dead. Okay. Then the next thing we are going to find what? 1. And we're replacing it with what? Alive. So our survived column now is properly formatted, right? Those that are alive and those that are dead, right? Now, we're going to also work on this. This is called, we're going to rename this P class to passengers class. Okay, so this is supposed to be passengers. Now, for this passengers class, 1 represents first class, 2 represents second class, and 3 represents third class. So now we also need to fix this. Then we're going to say 1 here, that's first class, right? Then for the 2 represents what? Second class. Okay. Why the 3 represents what? Third class. Okay, now that is it for passengers class. Now we are going to fix the, what else? Embark, right? Now we want to change all this abbreviation to their full meaning. Okay. For the S here means what? Southampton. So that should be S, right? Now for the C represents what? Cherbourg. While the Q represents what? Queenstown. Okay. That is it for embarked, right? What else? So let me know in the comment section if you are following and if you understand. That is all for our data cleaning, right? We are going to add table. All you just have to do now, let us add border to it, right? Let's make it look pretty and analysis ready. Let us add border to this. Okay, but then before we do that, let's rearrange this. Right? The first name be, let's rearrange this. Let's insert here. Let our first name come come at the beginning. Let title, first name, last name, and other. Let the name come at the beginning of our data. Do you understand? Then every other thing can follow. I think that is proper. Okay. Now I'm going to copy this. So I still need to add one more. So I'm going to highlight copy. Let me just paste it. Right, then I'll delete this, delete this, delete this, delete this. Okay, so this is it. We have our title, first name, surname, other names, survived, passengers class, sex. Maybe I should change, let's change this sex to gender. Gender, yep. Then we have age, siblings slash spouse, parents slash children. We have the fare, that is the amount they paid, right? Then we have embarked, where they were traveling to, right? Embarked, that's where they were coming from, places they were coming from. Okay, now let's make this to look analysis ready. Going to do Control A to highlight the data set. Then I will come over to this place, border, then click on all border, right? Then I will come here and increase the font size to 12, right? This is okay. So this is analysis ready now. You can also insert a table if you want to. You can insert table if you want to. And I think this is fair enough. Okay, now this is it. This is analysis ready. So if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do well to click on the subscribe button and subscribe, right? So that you can get notification when we'll be creating dashboard visualization with this same data set. Okay, so please do well to click on the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell, right? Thank you for staying till the end, and see you in the next video. Bye.